Hey creators, are you in the market for a camera that's suited to vlogging? Well, that is the spin Fujifilm is putting on their latest model, the X-S20. And I think that that's selling this model short. In this video, I'm going to combine a review with a tutorial and some performance tests to show you what the S20 can do and how to do it. And this is one of several videos about the S20. Links to the others are in the description. This camera, along with some lenses and accessories, are on loan from Fujifilm Canada. They did not pay me, tell me what to say, or see the script or video before posting. And this video has no sponsors or interruptions. I will not read you an ad, nor do I allow YouTube to insert ads. So, what is this about? Why does a camera need a specific position on the dial for vlogging? Doesn't the video setting do everything vloggers need? Well, according to Fujifilm, not quite. Let me explain. What you're watching is video recorded with the S20, which I'm holding at arm's length with the TG-BT1 tripod grip and the LCD screen swiveled forward. And in vlog mode, the camera has an on-screen vlog button, there we go, which opens up a panel for vlog-specific settings. I have face detection, stabilization, and the background defocus settings on. That's the icon. Let's go back. Top right. I wish the return key was also screen right, particularly with an HDMI cable connected for my recorder. It's a little hard to access on the left side. And I'm walking, so taking advantage of the full stabilization features here in body, optical, and digital. But I've left the boost setting off, as that's not recommended for panning, tilting, and tracking. And as you see top left, there's a 1.1 crop, a result of the digital stabilization setting. And this is the XF 16mm lens. I did try the new 8mm, but the edges of that shot were a little jiggly. I'll show you. Let me cut in for a minute to talk about lenses and vlogging. Now, vlogging isn't my usual. And with the grip, the camera's only about 50 centimeters away. That's fairly close. So a wide angle, like the new 8mm, seemed like a good choice. It's a prime lens and they are generally lighter. Holding a camera with any lens at arm's length can be challenging. Although the 8mm lens is small and light, it isn't optically stabilized, which was a problem. Here's the 8mm on a handheld shot with no stabilization, and the shake, particularly around the edges, is unusable. And now with in-body and digital. Strangely, not much better. Same jiggly wobble, top, bottom, and sides. My other observation on that lens is that even though the vlog background defocus setting is on, the effect is minor. That's actually somewhat predictable at 8mm with a f3.5 aperture. The background defocus effect is certainly more pronounced on the XF 18-55 f2.8 that I used for this shot, or the 16mm at f1.4. Now my next shortest prime is this 16mm, and although that's a tighter shot than I wanted, that's where I ended up a little too close. Final consideration in selecting lenses was ND. On a bright day, ND 64-6 stops provided the right adjustment. Of course, not all lenses have the same filter diameter, which meant going to the DV shop to get the step-down ring to match my ND with the lens. So, if you're going to record outside using the grip, walking and vlogging, choose your lens carefully, considering the focal length, the aperture, stabilization, and the filter diameter for ND. Back to my vlog shot. For video, I'm using autofocus continuous, although manual would be an option, as the distance from me to the camera isn't changing. Focus with face eye detect on is reliable and solid, although you will see it switching from one eye to the other. And the vlog screen allows you to select a specific eye if that works better for you. Back to both eyes. Now for reference, let me show you the video settings. I'm recording at 4K, 30 frames, using H.265 all intra 10-bit 422 color subsampling with a data rate of 360. All recorded internally on a UHS-2 card. And I have posted this video at 4K 10-bit 422, also with H.265. However, that's likely more than most viewers at the end of a YouTube stream will be able to appreciate. And that requires a significant amount of SD card and drive space, as well as computing power and rendering time. You could use lesser settings and still achieve a high level of quality for YouTube. Now, in other settings, I've turned on display options for the histogram and highlight alert. I'm using manual exposure mode and set the shutter duration at 1/60th. Vlog mode overrides aperture setting, which makes sense as the camera needs to control that for background defocus. The S20's minimum ISO is 160. So a wide open aperture requires ND on a sunny day. I'm using an ND64 filter. And today, I've chosen the Astia Portrait Mode Film Sim. Then, using the tone curve, I've lowered the highlights and raised the shadows to reduce the contrast further. Although I've made small exposure and color adjustments based on the DSC Labs Chroma Selfie for reference, this is a pretty much straight out of camera shot. At this point, with all of those settings, I thought I'd save them as a custom set. However, that's neither possible or in fact necessary. When you leave vlog mode, all of the settings are saved and they're restored when you return. Nice. So it's actually one more auto-updating custom setting. The S20's 10-bit 422 capability, along with the high data rate, leaves lots of latitude for post-processing and color grading, which is why, for this sequence, I've switched to F-Log and graded this shot to my preferences. This is what the shot looked like before I graded it. The S20 supports both F-Log 1 and 2 curves, as well as HLG. Now, I won't demo HLG in this video, as that would only make sense if the entire video was recorded and output as HLG. F-Log 1 resets the minimum ISO from 160 to 640. That works with the ND64. And the F-Log 2's minimum is 1250, requiring even more ND. And I'm recording audio externally using the Zoom F2 lapel mic and recorder, and the mic is inside my shirt. Let me switch over to the internal mic for a second to let you listen to that. The S20 has both mic in and headphone out, which is very useful for checking audio on a recording. Now, there are two more vlogging settings which can't be changed while you're recording. I've put the S20 on a tripod with the XF16-55 to demo those last two vlog mode features. So this is the product priority mode, which overrides face detection. So now I can bring the optional cooling fan in for its close-up. And let's talk about overheating for a minute. The camera's menu has an overheating setting. I set that to high when I configured the camera. So it's a warm 26 degrees Celsius day in Toronto, and for both the vlogging scene and this one, I was recording for about 30 minutes. Even without the fan, no overheat icon, no issues. The cooling fan mounts into the LCD recess on the back of the S20, and this is the same fan used by the XH2. If you need it, auto settings minimize noise or temperature, and manual settings for low and high. I know it's an optional cost, but it's nice to know that it's available. And it's great insurance. Better to have it never need it than to be frustrated when recording stops in the middle of a shoot. Because even though cameras are better than, say, 5-6 years ago, here's the rule: the smaller the camera, the more likely it is to overheat, particularly with higher resolutions and data rates. The last setting on the vlog menu is high-speed record, which switches to HD. At 30 frames, up to 8 times slow. Those are the S20's vlog settings, but that's certainly not all there is to video on the S20. Resolution goes up to 6.2 at 30 frames, although that's at the 3:2 aspect ratio. It could be useful for some cropping while you're editing, though. 4K in both 16 and 17:9 aspects go up to 60 frames. In media settings, 6.2K can only be recorded using H.265, all intra or long GOP, 420 or 422. All intra is limited to a data rate of 360. Long GOP can be set as low as 50. At 4K, H.264 can be selected at 8-bit 420. Using the HDMI output, RAW recording is available on supported Atomos and Blackmagic recorders. That means codecs like ProRes and even higher data rates. The LCD screen remains available when HDMI is connected, and that includes the touch features. And all of that provides a lot of flexibility for video producers at any level of expertise or quality. You'll also find a flickerless shutter duration setting for gradations down to 1/10 of a second. Zebra mode is available, settings from 50 to 100 in 5-unit increments. 2 directions are available. In video mode, the optimized control enables exposure, audio, film sim, and other settings to be set on screen without using the dials and rings for silent operation. Extensive screens for onboard audio recording, and I should note that there is a compatible Tascam XLR bridge available for the S20. Timecode settings are also full-featured. Some operational things. In video and vlog mode, the shutter release starts and stops video recording, so you don't need to use the red record key. Or you can assign it to another function, like zebra or focus peaking. Also use the start-stop key on the tripod grip. Now, there are a few limitations in video mode compared to stills. Auto ISO has no adjustments. Exposure compensation is limited to 3 stops. Focus has no area selection. And the autofocus custom settings are limited. For these recordings, I've barely dented the battery life. It's rated for about 80 minutes, 110 continuous recording. And the S20 can be powered using the USB-C adapter. Fujifilm does not make a battery grip for this model, and I don't know why they didn't put a battery in the tripod grip. Vloggers should be happy with this camera, but it's certainly capable of much more. I can't think of any video creator who wouldn't be happy with the S20, which really does seem to have it all. Well, except for video-based time-lapse mode. You have to use stills mode for that. And it only has a single SD card slot. As I said, I am not sponsored. No company pays me or tells me what to say. This camera and kit goes back to Fujifilm after this review. My revenue comes from Google Ads, before or after the video, and from the generous super thanks that my viewers contribute. I enjoy engaging with you. Please post your relevant questions and civil comments. I read and reply to all. And thanks for finding the time to watch today. Stay safe.